So this month, we are joining other CSL centers and teaching chapters and across the world honoring Pride Month. And what we're focusing on is what we can learn from those whom society has marginalized. And what we can learn is what it means to live in color and persevering despite the challenges that are presented to us just because of who we are. And we can learn from experiences of the oppression just because of our skin color or our hair texture or our how we express our gender or sexual orientation, and that through all of that, finding joy no matter what the circumstances, because joy does not come from outside, it comes from within. It comes and it is expressed as an outward expression of our true selves. There's a there's a story that was reminded of as I was preparing for this. It's a Hindu legend that there was it was one of those once upon a time, all of humanity were gods. And Brahma, the chief god, recognized that there were a lot of humans that were abusing the divinity that they were. And so Brahma called together a council of the guys in charge, is I guess how I think about it. And because Brahma decided it was time to take away that divinity from humanity. And he wanted to know where they were going to hide that divinity. And so the council suggested, let's hide it deep in the earth. They'll never look for it there. And Brahma's like, no, they're pretty smart. They're going to learn how to dig, and they're going to start digging around looking for it. And eventually they'll find it. That's not good. So the council suggested, let's sink it in the deepest ocean. And again, Brahma goes, no, no, they'll figure out how to dive and how to, have air and stuff. And they're going to start scouring the ocean bed looking for it. And that's not going to, yeah, we don't want them to find it. How about on the top of the highest mountain? No, they'll learn how to climb mountains and they'll find it up there. And finally the council just said, we don't know what to do. And all of a sudden, Brahma had a great idea. What if we hide it inside person? Each person, we will hide their divinity inside. They'll never find it there. They'll never think to look inside and let it just be. And then since then, we have been searching to and fro for that divinity within us, which I call my conscious spiritual journey. Is when I made that decision that I want to find that. And it's there. And when I look at when I pay attention to the two-spirit LGBTQIA plus community, what I see are people who recognize that there's something inside of them that they want to express. The society says, no, don't, you can't, or whatever. Yet it's going to express itself. And the more it's looked at and for by themselves, the more it comes out, and we can look at that. And if you have the wonderful opportunity to go to excuse me, to go to a pride parade or go to any of the celebrations this month and see it in the living color that is, and see this grand expression, there is so much that we can get from that. In the book, The Color Purple, one of the characters, Shug Avery, made the comment, God is inside you and inside everybody else. You come into this world with God, but only them that search for it inside find it. And sometimes it just manifests itself, even if you're not looking for it or don't know what you're looking for. And so if you were here for my talk, I believe it was last week, you will remember that I was, as I was preparing for that talk, I went way back into the beginning of my engineering career, and I could see where, oh my gosh, that quote is exactly what happened to me. Even though I wasn't looking for that divinity within me, I was able, it popped out without me even knowing it. And that can happen to us. And the more we become aware of it popping out, the more we can have our own unique expression of ourselves, expressing itself to its fullest magnificence. For those of you who were fortunate enough to come to the meditation today, Sandy asked us the question, is there a unique gift that we all have a unique gift and talent? And if I don't express that to its fullest, all of humanity is deprived of that talent. And to think about that, bring it into contemplation in the meditation. What did it feel like to not do that? What does it feel like when you do? And it was like, wow, it feels small when I don't, whether I'm conscious of that smallness or not. And it feels free when I do. There's a freedom there that happens. And so each of us is a unique expression of the divine. We are that expression that no one else can ever be. We are unique. We are truly unique. And the two-spirit LGBTQIA plus community shows us that beauty of self-expression. Despite persecution, despite violence, despite prison for some of them, and it's all for simply being who they really are. And they persist and they persist. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. That consequences has not stopped it because it's truth. It's their truth. It's our truth. And so if I look at this community and I look at the history of it, and I look at some of the incredible people who we know about, because there's many that we don't, because they didn't get arrested or they didn't get written up in a news article or something like that. If oh, if that can happen, I can do it too. And there is a true freedom that happens. So coincidence, I'm not so sure that coincidences really exist, that everything happens for a reason. And I started listening to Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness. And in it, she talks about a quote that she heard from Maya Angelou in an interview with Bill Moyers in 1973, that sent her on this journey. It was a significant piece of the journey that Brene Brown has been on, and if you've read any of her books, this was a catalyst for it. And that was when Maya Angelou said, "You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place. No place at all. The price is high, the reward is great." And that sent Brene Brown into a tailspin. And when I heard that this time, because didn't know that I was feeling like I don't belong anywhere for decades. And then when I came to a conscious awareness of it, I've been working on that for like 2.5 years, something like that, that yes, I do belong. It's like, no, now you can't tell me I don't belong. And that's not what Maya Angelou's saying. What she's saying is, I don't belong to any one place. I belong everywhere. I belong anywhere I am. I belong. No, because I am who I am. And when I recognize that, and when I live that, the price is high, and I can tell you the reward is great. The reward is great. There's a show that was on back in the 90s. It was called In Living Color. And in that show were some names that we go, wow, oh wow, yeah. When I heard about that, it was like, oh yeah, Jim Carrey got his start there. The Wayans brothers got their start there, and David Allen Greer was in that TV show that lasted, I think it lasted like 4 years or something like that. But in 1992, for Super Bowl 26, they were on a different network. They were on the Fox network, and the Super Bowl was on, I think, CBS or something. And so it was decided that In Living Color would broadcast a live episode during the halftime show of Super Bowl 26. And the incredible thing is, because this was a breaking barriers, it was very controversial, very edgy. I could not find it live streaming anywhere, and I finally found an article that said the rights are owned by Disney, and there's a concern that it may be even too edgy for today. So I can only, I didn't really watch the show back then. Um, and it's like, oh, I want to see this now. I really want to see it. But what happened was, when halftime started on the Super Bowl, 29 million people left that halftime show to watch the live episode of In Living Color because there was that much interest in it. And what happened is because of that show, the NFL decided we need even better halftime shows. We need superstars. We need, you know, what we have come used to being the halftime show, and then pepper everything with these first time ever advertisements that everybody wants to see, because something that was dealing with our marginalized communities, our marginalized people, got the attention of more people than the Super Bowl halftime show in 1992 and Super Bowl 26. Because you know what? We can learn from that community. We can learn from it, whether we're part of that community or not. Because one of the things that is so incredible is, no matter what, this community leans into joy. They find joy. They find a way to express themselves. They find a way to be in joy. And you know what? That's one of the characteristics that Brahma hid in each and every one of us. Because in the Bible, it says we are made in the image of God. Well, we are not made in the image of God in a physical way. We are made in the image of God by having those qualities as our basis of who and what we are. And if you were here earlier while we were prepping to get everything ready to go live and all this, Josh mentioned talking about with his wife this morning about how you can go in physically into your body, and you're not going to find yourself. You're going to, because this body is our vehicle, because who we are, what we are, as I like, as Dr. Trish says, what we are is those God qualities. We are life, we are light, we are joy, we are beauty, we are love. And that joy resides in each and every one of us. And our founder, Ernest Holmes, says many, many, many places in all of his writings that we have the right to enjoy living. It's our birthright. If you are taking a breath right now, whether you're inhaling or exhaling, You have the right to enjoy life. You have the right to be who you are. You have the right to express yourself as you are. And that we have the power to live each day as if it is the best day ever. And one of the hardest things for me sometimes to accept is that is a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice. Yeah, it's a matter of choice. So let's look at this this the month that we're in. And there's a time where the rainbow has become a symbol for this community, the two-spirit LGBTQIA plus community. And in looking into this, that it was from the song Over the Rainbow that came. And I know when I first started my conscious spiritual journey, it was related to Native American teachings. And with the great teaching that really hit home the most, other than the whole teaching of oneness, was that it was the Rainbow Bridge, that many Native American and First Nation and indigenous cultures talk about the time when it's time to build the Rainbow Bridge, where all colors all come together as one. We come into unity, not by conforming, but by recognizing each color is an important piece of it. And that brings me into the thought of I was thinking of my family likes to do these 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, and we'll all get together and we all have these pieces. And you know what? Each and every piece is unique and it looks different, and you can't see how it fits into the big picture. And if I take any one of those that I just don't like the way it looks and toss it in the trash, we will not have a complete picture at the end. And so it's not my decision whether any piece of the puzzle, whether any color of the flag, if you will, belongs or doesn't belong, because it all belongs. Again, if you are taking a breath right now, you are part of that picture. And that brings me to a poem a poem that I found that's by Hafiz, the Sufi poet. And he says, and I hope I can get through this without the tears that have been coming every time I've been reading this. We are the guardians of beauty. We are the protectors of the sun. There is only one reason we have followed God into this world: to encourage laughter, freedom, dance, and love. We are the companions of God's beauty, the guardians of truth. Every man, plant, and creature in existence, every woman, child, and note is a servant of our beloved, a harbinger of joy, of light. Each and every one of us. So take a breath, breathe that in. Because you are taking that breath, you are that. You are the guardian of beauty. You are the harbinger of joy. And there's many individuals in this voices have been erased in the two-spirit LGBTQIA plus community. And they are people who have paved the way. But there is one name that I found His name is William Dorsey Swan. He lived in the late 1800s. He was an enslaved person, um, and he was the first to self-identify as the Queen of Drag. And in the 1880s, he had there was a secret society here in the Washington, D.C. area, and he would hold these drag balls, where people could come and express themselves as they wanted to. And he continued this no matter how many times the it was found out where these secret balls were. He would continue to do it. He didn't stop him from doing it. He's also attributed with coining the term drag queen. And the queen part came from, on Emancipation Day, there was a tradition of crowning Black women who were exemplified freedom. So when they would have an Emancipation Day parade, these women would be chosen because they were exemplifying what it meant to be free. And so they called them the queens of freedom. And so that's where he picked up queen. And then drag comes from a term in the theater that goes back, way back, definitely to the Shakespearean time, where men would dress as women and their dresses would drag across the stage. And so that's why it was called men dressed as women were called being in drag. And so William Dorsey Swan put the two together, the queens of freedom and the term drag, and allowing people who to come and express themselves to their fullest. There was another one. My granddaughter, who just turned 4 yesterday, has a book that she just absolutely loves, and it's called Mary Wears What She Wants. And I had never heard of this person before until this book, and it was all about this woman, Mary Edwards Walker, who she lived on a farm with her parents, and her parents were fairly progressive, and Mary found it a lot easier to do the chores on the farm in boys' clothes rather than girls' clothes. And so she just rejected women's clothing. She also went on to become a surgeon. She was the first female surgeon for the U.S. Army during the Civil War. She was a civilian, but she was the first female surgeon that they ever had it was in the Union Army. She was also the only woman to receive the Medal of Honor. And she came up with a design of women's clothing that more than just she wore it, where it was back in the days of skirts down to the floor and many petticoats and corsets that tugged you in so tight it was hard to breathe. She came up with a dress that came down either just above the knee or below the knee with pants underneath of it. So you could do what you wanted to do, and you didn't have all the petticoats and no corsets. And she was part of the women's suffrage movement, and she was just amazing. Had a lot of problems, but she continued to express herself no matter what society said. And then a more recent example was a person, their name is B. Hayes. She was part of the Nashville Christian School. She was a senior there, and they were going to the prom, and they wore a suit, but because they were female, was not allowed into the prom. Could not come into their own senior prom. And what was interesting was the community heard about this, and one of the stores in the area put out a GoFundMe, and they've raised like $29,000 to have an alternative prom. So this person could come and express themselves as they desired. And everybody could come to that prom, and then whatever money was left over was donated to a charity of B. Hayes's choice. We can learn from this community. Again, whether we're part of it or whether we are not, whether we identify it with it or not, whether we're an ally or not, no matter what you think about it, we can learn from this community. We can learn to cast away our consciousness of exclusion. We can learn to celebrate unity, diversity, and unique expression for others as well as for ourselves. We can live in color despite the challenges of being who we are. And so I invite you to continue coming this month as we celebrate Pride Month, as we look at celebrating our own spiritual magnificence and expressing that and doing what the meditation that Sandy led this morning about looking at what are our unique gifts and talents that we have that we're fearful of expressing. Some of them may be so buried we don't even know they're there. Because if we don't express them, all of humanity will be deprived of that. Because only you can express your divinity, your spiritual magnificence the way you can. No one else can do it. No one else can do it. Margaret Mead said that if we are to achieve a richer culture, a rich contrasting values, we must recognize that the whole gamut of human potentialities. And so weave a less arbitrary social fabric, one in which each diverse human gift will find a fitting place. And so it's up to each and every one of us. And so again, I invite you to come back this month as we continue to celebrate this. I'll be speaking for the next couple weeks about do what you want to do. And it's never too late. It's not too early, it's not too late to do it. And then we'll be hearing from Wilkester Orenge from Kenya, talking to us about our magnificent self. And then our wonderful Greg Coyle from Oslo, Norway will be wrapping it up at the end of the month. So I invite you to keep coming back and hear some more about it. And so in closing, I want to leave you with a declaration that Sandy read a part of it as her reading. And I want to include it in a prayer for each and every one of us. And the whole affirmation that he has. So I invite you right now to either close your eyes, or if you don't want to close your eyes, just cast your gaze down so that to just minimize the visual stimulation around you. Excuse me, as I recognize that there is only one life. There is only one life, one power, one presence that is the creator, animator, and sustainer of all that is. And I rest in that right now. I rest in it because what I know is that each and every one of us, myself and everyone who hears my voice now in this moment or later on in recordings, each and every one of us is a unique expression of that. Of love, of peace, of joy, of light, of beauty. And so I make this declaration for each and every one of us that I have an inner understanding of my place in the universe. I know that it is unique. The divine has not incarnated in anyone else in the same individual way that it has in me. I am unique and forever individualized. Therefore, I do not need to imitate anyone or to long for the good that belongs to another. All good is now mine and is now manifest in my experience. I do not compete with anyone, for I am and I remain forever myself. This self is united with all selves, but it always is always an individual and unique self. And so, in knowing this for myself and all who are here listening at this moment, whatever this moment may be, I am grateful to know this truth. I'm grateful to express it in word. I'm grateful to know the power of prayer. And so I let this declaration go into that loving arm of the law that we call the law, the one that only says yes, that only responds in the positive. And so I let this go into the hands of God, and I let it be. And so it is. Amen. And so it is. And I love each and every one of you. And thank you.